All right, it's 8:05, so we will start already. We also have some people on Facebook already saying hi. I see you guys. All right. Um, Welcome everyone to UBI's third online workshop series. To our reoccurring participants, welcome back. To our new participants or viewers out there, thank you for joining us today. A quick window here to refresh your memory. In our first workshop, we were with Shaolin from Eats, Trees and Roots, where she shared with us a personal journey on urban farming. From learning on how to create our urban garden, our second workshop was with Professor Wong, who shared with us his journey in creating a butterfly garden and some how-tos to make one yourself. So today we'll be learning on creating a biodiversity garden. Those who aren't familiar with UBI, UBI is short for Urban Biodiversity Initiative. UBI is an independent collective for urban ecology research, conservation, and environmental education based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. My name is Shuhada and I'll be moderating the talk today. Before we proceed, a reminder to all of you, if throughout the session you have any questions, just drop your questions in the Q&A box or chat box. We are also streaming live on Facebook, so for you guys who are watching us from Facebook, you can drop your questions in the comment box below. I'll try my best to address all of your questions. Okay, let's go to our agenda for today. This online workshop series is organized with the Kota Damansara Community Forest Society and with funding from the Habitat Foundation and the UNDP GAF Small Grants Program aimed to develop knowledge and skills among urban communities that want to conserve, improve, and manage green spaces in the city. So throughout the month of July, we run online workshops on various topics related to rewilding urban areas. Joining us in our third online workshop is Tan Kai Ren on the topic of in the topic of biodiversity gardening. Kai Ren will be explaining on why biodiversity gardening is critical to wildlife conservation and will share useful tips on how to start a biodiversity garden in your own backyard or nearby green spaces. Tan Kai Ren is an ecologist who has been involved in urban biodiversity conservation for the past 3 years with the Rimba Project in University of Malaya. He is currently working as a Green G.O, an environmental and sustainability officer position in Club Med Cherating. His work mainly focuses on environmental education for urban communities to create more awareness of how balanced ecosystems support our own well-being. Alright, that's all from me. I'll be passing the stage to Kai Ren. So Kai Ren, whenever you are ready.
Okay, thank you, Shuhada. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for the UBI team for organizing this event. So it's a Friday night and I hope everyone is doing okay. So I will be sharing a screen right now and let me try to do that. Okay, so here's a slide. So for all the participants, thanks for joining. So I'm Kai Ren. I'll be talking about biodiversity gardening. And as Shuhada has said earlier, so I studied ecology and biodiversity, and I was formerly the project officer for the Rimba Project based in UM. So we did a lot of urban biodiversity conservation and education program. And throughout that period, we also organized the Klang Valley City Manager Challenge, which is a citizen science project, but focusing on collecting biodiversity data in the urban area. And it is a global event. So if you are interested and free, you can check it out. And it's quite interesting. So I'll briefly talk about the platform later in my slides later. So I was also selected for the YC Academic Fellow on Natural Resource Management and Environmental Issues. And it is a really great opportunity to go to the America to learn about how we manage the natural resources like our waste and our land, things like that. So it was really great. And right now I'm working as a environmental officer at the Club Med Cherating. So it's the title is Green G.O. So I also do guiding and other environmental related programs with the guests here. So in this workshop, I will be talking about 4 main topics, which is the importance of biodiversity, and the roles of garden as a habitat. And of course, how do we encourage biodiversity into your garden? And lastly, knowing our limits, whether what we can do and what we cannot do. So that's important. So let's jump right into the importance of biodiversity. So as Shraddha stated earlier, we want to, the purpose of this workshop is to introduce you to why it is important for us to introduce biodiversity into our own habitat, own area, or own home, whether you're living in a bungalow, whether you have a mansion with a large lawn, or whether you are staying in a flat or a condominium, like a high-rise building, things like that, or even even at your office or workplace. So some of the things that we can do is to introduce wildlife, and any percentage of green and animals can help in wildlife conservation in many different ways. I mean, there don't it is no need to have a direct impact towards the wildlife conservation, but any of our action towards nature will help in the long run. So I will briefly talk about why we need biodiversity in our lives. As a human, we depend a lot on the plants, not only for our food, not only for our water, and also the oxygen. So oxygen helps to support all lives. So without biodiversity, without the plants, without animals helping the plants, we couldn't get our oxygen, and we definitely need that. Of course, uh, biodiversity is also important for our food. Little did a lot of people know that our food are mostly natural. I mean, now we can get a lot of the artificial food, like whether it is artificial made food, I mean, like human processed food, or it's the sausage, or it's what's that? The potato chips, those tortillas, nachos, or whatever. These are unnatural already. So humans have already processed them, and they have become a different form from their natural form. So a lot of the current generations do not value the nature around them because they don't see this nature as the source of their food. So if a very simple perception or a simple point of view that I can give to you is, if you have eaten a salad before, you can see that within your salad bowl, there are a lot and a lot and a lot of species, like coming from, maybe you add lettuces, maybe you add tomatoes, maybe you add olives, maybe you add what else? Cabbage, maybe you add broccoli, maybe you add corn. So these are all different species, single species. So these are only the vegetables. What about the dressings? Have you thought about your olive oil, your mayonnaise, your other oils? Maybe some people like to add the Thousand Island sauce. So in all those sauce, they are all coming from natural stuff, like a plant or an animal or a process done by a microbes towards a plant or an animal product. So these are all biodiversity, and we have to appreciate it, because a lot of people, they just throw food away and think that food comes so easily. They can just buy it off the supermarket, and they don't have to go through the process of planting and harvesting. So um, trying to this that's why this workshop is like really important, because we go back to the roots of how we grow and why we grow. And coming back to the importance of biodiversity, biodiversity is also important for tourism and other recreational value, because especially in our country, in Malaysia, a lot of the tourism are supported by special attractions that are related to nature. For example, Langkawi, we have a lot of beaches, we have a lot of mountains. Sabah, Sarawak, we have a lot of Taman Negara. We have a lot of the different animals that are really special to our own land, like orangutan, like tiger, and all this tapir and stuff like that. So it's not just it doesn't only provide us with food, but also helps in our economy as well. And a lot of our pharmaceutical products, like our medicine, they also comes from the research from uh, plants that are found in the forest. So if we want to find a cure for future diseases, then it's important for us to actually conserve the biodiversity. And with biodiversity, we can actually exercise natural pest control because, as you know, in the nature, it's always about pest, how to say, the predator and prey relation. So in some ways, nature will actually regulate the population of certain pests, and this is a natural process, and we don't have to interfere with that. So, with a very healthy ecosystem, we can actually do a lot of this by itself. We don't have to apply a lot of herbicide or any other pesticide, and with biodiversity, we also increase productivity in a certain land because with this association between plants and animals with other microbes or other, and all these association, they form like a nutrient cycle, which is really helpful, like for the whole ecosystem. So when the leaf falls, all these microbes or all these like earthworms, they will break down the tissues and the organic matters. These will be available for the plants to grow again, and this will help our forests to grow healthier without even human interfering it. So not only that, soil is really important, not only for us and also for the forest. So with biodiversity, we can promote soil formation by different ways. And the simplest way is to explain it is we have small plants and large plants. So whenever a place is barren, we will have a big rock, like a huge rock. These will be the surface will be broken down by smaller plants first, and when the ecosystem become more mature, we will have larger plants, and these larger plants will have larger roots to break down all these rocks, and these will promote the rocks to become small pebbles, and then in the end becomes a sand or becomes a soil that are mixed with all the organic matters. So we always think that we should always think that when there are more species, it should be a better garden. It's always a yes, because when you have more species interacting with each other, they will produce different features, different microclimates, and different, how to say, resilience, different level of resilience. So, for example, in the first series of the workshop, Charlene actually mentioned a very important point, which is if you plant more companion planting, you can distract the pests from your target species. Like let's say you want to plant a vegetable like a ladyfinger. So ladyfinger is very susceptible to the pests, and you might want to plant other species of like maybe flowers, wildflowers, for example. So that can attract all the pests to them. So it reduce the harmful effect on your ladyfingers that you want to plant. So it can lead to more success in growing a healthier plant. And there's always when you go to a nursery, you will always find a lot of beautiful flowers. And many of these beautiful flowers are actually not local. So if you want to see a local animals, you want to share your garden with local animals, you want to plant local plants, because local plants are actually more welcoming to the local wildlife, and the wildlife will be happier because they will find their preferred food. Like when if you're an Asian, then you will naturally want to have Asian food. So that's the case for animals as well. So when you have more local wildlife around you, like maybe you introduce a lot of plants, and these plants attract a lot of butterflies, a lot of birds, a lot of dragonflies, and all these tree shrews, stuff like that. So they will help to nurture your garden to be more mature and actually makes your plant healthier in that way. So a very easy way to look at how uh, local wildlife can help you is when you have a balanced ecosystem. Let's say you have all the birds and mammals and all those insects interacting together, they will form their own predator and prey or food chain that can help to regulate the population of each other. The a lot of I heard a lot of people say that, oh, if you have a lot of plants, then you will have a lot of mosquitoes. So that is, I think there are some truth in it, because some of the plants can actually trap water water puddles. So they will create water puddles within themselves, like the bromeliads. So this might lead to encourage this might encourage mosquito to grow. But if you have a proper like ecosystem set up in your place, maybe there will be less mosquitoes because you have a lot of dragonflies that help you to reduce the mosquitoes, or you might be able to introduce like fishes to help eat up the mosquito larva. So it's more balanced in that way. And after we talk about all this, like why do we have to like have so many wildlife? Why do we want to achieve a balanced ecosystem in our own home? I mean, we have to understand why we need the garden first. Like whether the garden is really important to us and also our society. So I have a timeline over here where you can sort of understand why we need garden and why garden is important for all the wildlife, and how establishing this can help the wildlife conservation in the long run. So in the very beginning, all of our place is a forest, right? So we will as our population increases, we will have urban development, and this urban development including building high rises, building I would say residential area, building roads, especially. So all this stuff will help. Will not. I mean, will reduce the land for forests, and also will cause habitat fragmentation in the end. So with all this fragmentation, and these are the when the land is fragmented, a lot of the animals couldn't survive, like animals who needs a large land or large territory, like elephant or tiger and all these big mammals. That's why you couldn't see big mammals in the urban area or nearby urban area, because they need a lot of land to thrive. So it will cause local extinction to many of these big mammals. Um, but when you have a garden, when you establish habitat for certain species, then you can help to bring back all these wildlife slowly. I mean, when let's say you have a garden, you just move your house and you have no plants over there. So usually you'll feel hot. You feel that there are nothing there. There are no insects. There are no squirrels. There are no birds. So if you try to introduce certain plants, like in the second series, Dr. Siren said about introducing flowers and fruit trees certain trees that can attract butterflies or birds. So this will help to get the wildlife or animals back. And this is the role as a human, of us as a human, that can help the biodiversity. So I want to introduce this concept as garden as a shared space for you and the wildlife. So there are a lot of you can attract to your garden. So like I said earlier, birds, tree shrews, squirrels, butterflies. Um, we definitely have bees. We'll definitely have spiders, even though you don't find anything. We'll have earthworms, we'll have beetles, all this stuff. So frogs and toads and snakes sometimes, bats, or snails and flies and fish if you have a pond. So you have all this. I think by having this like a really balanced ecosystem, you can actually help more more animals and plants to thrive. Like if you have squirrels here, these squirrels can go from your place to another and maybe to the closest forest possible. So these birds will also be here, and when the birds population increase, they will help the neighboring forest to become more lively. And all this actually comes from your place, because your place provides a space to nest or to roost or to rest or to actually feed. So this will although you won't be able to keep like big mammals like elephant or tiger at home, but you can keep all this that can contribute to the food chain itself. So if you have a garden, try to make it wild a bit, and sometimes you will see all these wonders like this, like the monitor lizard. So this will be food for a lot of monitor lizard is not. I mean, it's a food for humans, some humans as well, but it can be a food for the birds of prey like eagles or all this bigger stuff, or snakes even. So these are some of the wildlife that you can see in your garden. Not all of them are good, and not all of them are bad to human, but definitely there are some uses of them to the ecosystem. So like for example, the monitor lizard, they'll help to eat earthworms, but we always thought that earthworm is good for the soil, right? So why do we need monitor lizard? I mean, monitor lizard can help to eat other things maybe. So things that you don't know, um like frogs or toads, they might be just there, but you think, oh, they are so disgusting, they look so weird, they are so ugly, they are poisonous. I mean, yes, a lot of there are a lot of species that can be poisonous, but we don't have a poisonous frog over here. I mean, there's some of the toads can be poisonous to other frogs, like for example this one. This is the Asian common toad. So this could be harmful for other frogs, but never harmful for the human unless you try to eat it. Yeah. So I don't recommend that. And of course, there will be slugs. Maybe the other animals like frogs will eat them, or you have a dragonfly, which is helpful for you, and there will be bats. So this photo is from Shuhada, the moderator. So this is a fruit bat. So fruit bat like this will help. I mean, will help to disperse seed, and it is really important to have bats in our natural environment because they fly a very long distance. every night, and they will help to gather seeds or disperse seeds, and they are really good in forming a mature ecosystem. Children have a good interaction with it. I think if you have bats at home, you can try to introduce a place for them to nest, which I will be talking about later. So we'll try to, I mean, when biodiversity comes to us, we always wants to push them away, but uh, there are always you always think of the good stuff first. I mean, of course, their guano is like really messy. Every night you will have to clean. Every day you have to clean it when you wake up, and it might be causing you trouble. So you can try to uh, find a solution to solve this problem, because they might be helpful for the environment. So after all this, like I talk about so many animals and plants, and how many species can gardener help support, you might ask. So in this platform, which is called iNaturalist, you can find it easily on the web. So in Kuala Lumpur itself, we have documented over 2,000 species. So as you know, Kuala Lumpur is a really it's a metropolitan, it's a really urban area, and there are very little forests. I mean, there are forests, yes, but they are all fragmented. So we can consider the whole all the biodiversity that can be found in Kuala Lumpur is actually from the garden, or the sort of the wasteland that we always talk about. Um, it's quite a interesting, like how to say, data. Like there are 2,000 species that you can find in just urban area, and a lot of people regards urban area as a place that are not uh, suitable for conservation activities to be done. But of course, Urban Biodiversity Initiative, which is the organization that organized this workshop, believes otherwise. That's why they they think that, I mean, wildlife conservation can start anywhere. And because we live in a huge biosphere called the Earth, and all our interaction with the animals and plants contribute to this bigger picture. So no matter where you are, whether you are in Kuala Lumpur or whether you are in Taman Negara, you stay in Taman Negara maybe, you can contribute to wildlife conservation by doing something. And of course, if you are in urban area, you can start by planting just one plant at your home. So there are a few elements that we can add to our space, our home, to encourage biodiversity. And the most important thing definitely is sunlight. And without sunlight, you can't plant anything. And of course, when there are too much sunlight, some things cannot grow. That's why we need shades. So shades will create a moist space for both some plants and animals, especially things like moss, ferns, and orchids. And of course, with sunlight, shades, we need water, because both animals and plants need water. So definitely water is a must to encourage biodiversity, whether the water is a puddle or whether you have enough supply of continuous supply of water. It is They are both important in that sense. And of course, if you want to encourage biodiversity, you need to build or um, prepare a hideout for some of the animals, like maybe lizard, small lizard, I mean, um, what we call skinks, or frogs, or any other things that you think you want to. So let's say, oh, I think squirrel is not cute. So maybe you don't want to prepare things like that. Or maybe, oh, I think that frogs are utterly disgusting. So you might not want to do that. But just remember that not everyone has the same idea, but you or same interest. So I will not ask you to, oh, if you want to have biodiversity, you must have this, you must have that. If not, you will not create a balanced ecosystem. I guess it's all up to your own acceptance. And the last element to encourage the biodiversity is definitely to get more plants. So if you have more plants uh, and more different species of plants, you will get different different a lot of different animals. So these animals will help to how to say, like, when I mean, they will create a interaction with your plant. Like, some are bad, some are good, but it is helpful that they are there because of your plant. Like, let's say, for example, if you want to have a bird, different kind of birds, so you might want to plant certain trees that always produce fruits and flower. Like, birds are especially attracted to warmer color as well, like red fruit, red flowers, or orange or yellow. And like Dr. Siren have said, butterflies will be attracted also to the warmer colors, while the bees will be attracted to more of the white, the blue, and the purple flowers. So if you want these animals to be around you, you can plant flowers that has these characteristics. So you might be lucky. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be all big trees. There are small trees that can produce small good results as well. Like some of the ginger plant, like the ginger plant that can produce like orange flower or red flowers. Those are good to attract sunbirds as well, because I've seen people, oh, I want to see sunbird, I want to plant a big tree, and that can attract them, but they can't enjoy it, they can't see the sunbird because they're shy. So these are things that you can consider when you want to plan your garden. So you want to know what to plant and what you want and what you don't want in your garden. So there are other elements that we can think about. Like, when you want to start a garden, you always want to think about producing layers. So if you have many layers of plants, you will be able to um, help with producing shades, like what I've said. So some of the plants, they love sun better. So if they like sun, you want to introduce them to a lot of sun. You want to plant them in a place where there are no bigger trees uh, overshadowing them. But if you are planting certain trees like the ginger, some of them do not love the sunlight that much, and they will do better under the shades, like yam, things like that. So you want to create all this layering and plant suitable plants at the correct place. So if you are not sure, you can go to the nursery and ask the person whether this plant is suitable to be planted indoors or outdoors, under the shade or under the sun. So this might increase your knowledge in that. And if you want more biodiversity in your garden, um, planting fruits and flowering trees or fruit trees will be uh, definitely a great addition. And always choose those that have fruits that are available all year round, so you can support a big number of biodiversity, because these animals and birds or squirrels, they need food like us every day or every other day. So if you have a constant supply of food, they will be more happy, and they will be able to produce more. Like, they will have to their population will grow eventually. So it will be good for the biodiversity if you have a lot of fruits. And um, not everyone has the luxury to produce a water feature in their home. But if you have the land, or you can create a huge pond like this, or some of the water fountain, or artificial waterfall I've seen. So these are good for animals like fishes, like frogs. And actually, right, when you have all these water features, usually if you manage it well, you will have less mosquito, because um, if you have tried to understand how mosquito what's the mosquito life cycle, you will understand that they need water. But if you have fish in your water, when the mosquito lay their eggs in the on the water surface or in the water, larvae will get eaten by the fish. So in even though they successfully suck the blood and mature their eggs and lay their eggs, their larvae will couldn't mature and become adult again. So you are like disrupting the life cycle of mosquitoes. So it's actually a good way to control the population of mosquitoes, because when you add water, you get dragonflies, you get frogs that can help to eat up all the mosquitoes. And if you want to get like healthier plants, you can also add add decaying materials to your garden. So it can be in the form of compost. You can start your compost, or you just add some logs, so you can get it from the roadside, or you can chop down certain your old trees that you don't want, or you trim your branches of the big trees, or you can create a leaf mulch. So mulch is easier to make. Like you can just get dried leaves around your garden or around your neighborhood, or you can produce wood chips. If you have a wood chipping machine, then you can produce a higher quality mulch. So these mulch will actually increase the biodiversity within the soil. So this biodiversity within the soil will help your plant grow better, and they're acting like the immune system for your plant. So if your plant gets enough nutrients like us, if our immune system is good, even though we are exposed to bacteria or pests or viruses, we will be able to fight that. But if we don't have a good nutrient source, we might not be able to do that. Definitely, if you want to get birds or any of the other like squirrels, so you want to get feeding station or nesting station for them. So you can start by understanding what species are there around you. Like a lot of the garden birds in Malaysia, they will feed on small grains. Some will feed on insects. So you might not be able to attract some of the insectivorous birds, but you might have more success in getting the how to say the vegetarian birds. So if you want to get see more birds, you're interested in birds, you can do this whether or not you have a garden. I mean, you can try, but there's always the success rate depends on how biodiverse is your area, how much birds that can support. So if you have a good garden and if you start seeing birds coming around and you want to get more species, then you can try to introduce this. And definitely in the end, we want to introduce more local species, because local species will increase the insects coming. And when there are more insects coming to your garden, you'll get more birds, you'll get more other things. It's just a cycle, I think. So there are a few ideas for you to start your garden. In making your garden, your existing garden, to become a wildlife garden. You can build an insect hotel. So sometimes it's easy. You can just tie a few branches together, or you can just put a rock or a broken vase onto your soil, so it can create a space, a wet space, a moist and dark space for your whatever animals that you want to attract. And uh, second one will be definitely mulch your plants. When you mulch it, you will actually get more nutrients. You will get all these good good insects that can help to fertilize or re-fertilize or bring the nutrients back to the soil. So it will increase this biodiversity on uh, below the ground. And when you have all these insects or earthworms, you will naturally see like there are more birds to come to your place to feed on all these insects. It can, if your place is really near to a forest, you can sometimes see wild jungle, which is the wild chicken coming to your place. So this is this will be interesting if you have if you have a kids and you can introduce them. Hey, have you seen? So this is a important education point that you can help to educate the younger generation. And the next point would be creating a small pond. I mean, you don't have to you don't have to dig a big hole. Like I've tried to create a small water feature as a I use the during all this festive season we have all these biscuits, so you can just create a water feature, small water feature, and you put some certain of the the water plants inside, and then you can create a small ecosystem around your area. Just try to put some fish inside so that the mosquito doesn't grow inside your water feature. So it can be a plastic bottle, it can be a plastic tray even. So as long as you can manage it, then no matter how small it is, it's gonna do something. It's gonna increase the biodiversity because sometimes the dragonflies have nowhere to go, nowhere to find a good water source. They will just lay eggs in your small water feature. Can be this big, can be sometimes bigger. It doesn't matter. So as long as you have it, they can grow, and you can help to increase the biodiversity. And of course, start composting. Everyone eats food, and when you cook, you will produce all these food waste, the the fruit peels, the vegetables, the roots of the vegetables, all those stuff. This can be turned into a compost, and this compost can help your garden to become better, grow stronger as well. And a very important point is actually limit the use of insecticides, because when we use insecticides, there are a lot of things that we don't target. They are not targeted, will be dead because of the toxins found in insecticide. And these insecticides will actually have a long-lasting effect. Some of the stronger ones can last for months. So um, the if you want to introduce wildlife into your garden, this might not be a good thing to use, and only use it when you know what you want and really know what to use. So try to come up with other solutions first, like maybe you mechanically um, remove all these pests, or use to rub it away or pick it off. So that will actually help to how to say, like, maintain the biodiversity that you have created earlier. If you put insecticides after you do all those stuff above, it might not help you to have a great success in building a wildlife garden. And last but not least, definitely plant fruit trees, because a lot of people plant a lot of stuff at home, but they don't feel connected to the plants themselves because they don't use them. They just think that, oh, it's beautiful and stuff like that. But if you plant certain things like herbs or fruits that you can eat, then it might have different meaning to you. And also, these edible fruits are very attractive to a lot of the animals. So it is a win-win situation to both of you if you plant things that is edible. like bananas, mangoes, rambutan, mangosteen, even like nangka. These are the very common trees that you can plant, and they are perennials. So they can grow for a very, very long time. So you don't have to keep buying and plant different things. So it will help you to easily maintain your garden. So after all this introduction, you might ask me, oh, I just have a small space. What do I do? Things like that. So I think trying to build a biodiversity garden is more about knowing our own limits. Like, let's say I want to have I want to grow fish. I want to keep a lot of koi. Uh, but do I have the space for it? Do I have the right climate for it? Or let's say I want to plant orchid, but can I create? Do I have the resources to create the right microclimate to plant orchids? Because orchids wants to have shade, but if I don't know how to create the shade for the orchid, even if I want to buy orchids, it might die under the hot sun. And whether your garden receive enough sunlight, let's say your place have a big tree, you bought a place, but that place has a huge like maybe 20, 30 meters high, like a durian tree. So it will create a lot of shades. And what if you say, oh, I want to plant some vegetables? Then that might not be a great place to plant vegetables because it doesn't have enough sunlight. As you know, sunlight is very important for a lot of edible plants, and especially the vegetables, leafy vegetables. So you also want to understand whether your soil is suitable for the plant you want, like whether you I mean, soil in this sense can be substrate. Let's say you use the right thing for your plants. Like let's say you don't know, oh, I want to plant lotus on the ground. It might not be possible. Like you want to plant ginger in a pot. Maybe you want to maybe you want to harvest it earlier. Then it's okay. Like if you want to plant like a big tree or like a durian tree, let's say you want to plant durian. I mean, you want to find a place that has slope so that it can drain better because some of the trees grow better in different types of soil and different area. So the last thing actually to ask yourself is whether you have enough time for your garden. If you don't have enough time, then even if you have a lot of great ideas, you want to put a feeding station, you want to create a pond, you want to create this, you want to plant a lot of stuff, you want to know plant a lot of species, you want to you want to see birds, you want to see squirrels, then it might not be possible. So try to know your all this and try to manage your time. If you don't have time, you can try to you know what to reduce. So in the end, gardening is all about like time management. So because these are the last tips that I will always give to anyone who wants to start gardening. So not more is not always better because when it comes to biodiversity, I keep mentioning about if you have more biodiversity, it's more balanced ecosystem, and it will be better for the environment. It will help more wildlife that are around the garden, or you can when you get more of birds here in your garden, these birds will fly to the nearest forest and help the nearest forest better. If you have more, then it's better for the forest. No, I mean, yes, it's good for the environment, but if you can't manage it, uh, in the end you will give up, and in the long run, it's not better for you and the nature because when you let nature grow wild, it can get really messy, and we can see that if you go to a wasteland, sometimes you get a lot grass growing, trees growing, and it's really messy. So if you don't have time to shape or maintain your garden, then it's better that you reduce the number of things that you have. So it's all about time management. And when you don't have time, it becomes a messy garden and becomes an unhappy garden. And an unhappy garden cannot support a lot of the animals and biodiversity. And when it comes to unhappy garden, it always have they will always have something that can be very dominant, because there will always be one species that will be very weedy and it will dominate the whole ecosystem. Let's say you have a garden and you don't care about it for 4 months, and then you will see that the grass is starting to grow wild, the trees are falling and things like that. And after all these things, you will see that most of your garden is dominated by one species. So in the end, it will become like that, and it will be the reverse of what we want, creating balance and creating biodiversity. So if you have all this, if you have all these ideas you want to do, make sure that you have the time to handle it. So if you can't handle it, try to reduce, and if you can handle it, try to add more and more things, and in a slow pace, so that you know that in the long run, your garden can really help the environment, and not being like a waste project or wasted project, things like that. So comes to the end to of the workshop. Thank you for listening to my workshop. I hope you all learn some things or some tips that I've shared. And happy gardening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kyron.
Yeah.
You have a really nice slides, presentation slides. I have to say that. I love watching that. All right, going on to the Q&A session. We have a lot of questions coming in the chat box, the Q&A box, and also from Facebook. So I'll try to go one by one lah. All right, I saw earlier somebody in the chat box that asked, any examples of local plants can attract pollinators?
Any examples of local plants that can attract pollinators? So if you want to attract pollinators, mainly there are three main pollinators. There are bees, there are butterflies, and there are flies. So flies are also great pollinators as well. You can search about it. How do you attract pollinators? So if you're talking about your ornamental plants, like plants with elaborate flowers, they are naturally uh, very attractive to all these pollinators because of their nectar and because of their color as well. But um, have you noticed that if you plant all this like how to say alien species or species that are not local, like the Madagascar periwinkle, so you will see very little butterflies or bees around them, because they are naturally not attractive to the local butterflies, because they are not evolved to be able to collect their nectar sometimes. So depends on what you want to pollinate. So for example, if you want to see local pollinators, right? You plant a fruit tree like a papaya tree. If the papaya trees flower, right, you see tons and tons of bees just flying around and swarming the whole tree. And sometimes you will see I've seen what's that, palm trees before. So there are a lot of many different palms in our country, Malaysia. So if you have palm that are flowering, you can also see a lot of these. So I'm not sure what you were trying to say, but if you are trying to feed the pollinators, yes, any plants that are flowering can help the pollinators, can feed the pollinators. And as long as you plant more local plants, you will see a lot of these butterflies and bees that are swarming around you. And definitely, if you want to see more, plant those that flowers a lot and have specific colors. Like if you want to see bumblebee. You might want to plant morning glory and all this stuff. They are purple, they are white, they are blue. And if you want to see more colorful butterflies, you can try to plant some lime tree or other citrus tree, so you can attract a lot of swallowtail or also the lime butterflies that comes around, which are really beautiful. But of course, it might be annoying to your citrus tree because they'll try to lay eggs and all this stuff. But that's the beauty of nature. So these are some of the things that you can add to your garden, like fruit trees and flowering trees. So as I said earlier, I hope it answers your question. Sorry, Shu, I can't hear you. Your mic is.
Sorry. All right. There's a question from Jayakumar. So he said, hi. I was wondering if there's been any studies on the various species of strangler figs growing in KL. I think some are really old and huge. Was curious whether they grow quickly and whether they are good for urban wildlife.
Wow. Okay. Thanks, Jayakumar. Hi. There are many species of figs around the Malaysia actually. A lot and a lot of them. I think back then when when I was studying in UM, I was doing a study with Shuada as well and the UBI team. So we actually found many, I think around 10 species, even within the land of UM, the space of UM itself. So if you don't know how big is UM is very, very big, very, very, very big. So uh, so it's quite interesting. Like we have a lot of species of strangler figs, but these figs can be really old because um, when they started growing, you might not notice them because they always start the strangler figs specifically they start by growing on other trees, other big trees. So let's say a bat eat they the bat ate a fig and then they poop and then they hits on another tree. So the seeds from this fig will start to grow on another tree first, and then as it becomes bigger and bigger, the roots of the fig will actually reach the ground, and when it reaches the ground, it will start to really grow huge. So when it gets the nutrients from the soil, it will get more water, more constant supply of water. It will grow fast. And usually, when we see a big tree, a big strangler fig, sometimes it can be 50, 100 years old. I'm not sure about that because figs they they grow bigger by producing more roots that can reach the ground. So it can expand really, really huge. And figs are good for a lot of things. If you have seen a strangle fig image or any of the trees before, you'll notice that there are a lot of epiphytes on the tree. So it doesn't only support the plants. So I've said that there are a lot of epiphytes, there are ferns, there are other trees as well. There might be other figs as well on the strangle fig. But the most important thing about this strangle fig is actually they produce figs. So as we know, figs are edible. Some figs are edible for humans, some are not. But definitely, these figs are food for a lot of animals. It can be food for monkeys, food for birds, for squirrels. So these figs help to support the wildlife around them. And we always refer fig as the keystone species. So a keystone species is actually an important species that supply constant that produce constant supply of food to support the wildlife around the area. So whenever you see a fig tree, you definitely get a lot of the other animals as well.
Next, we have there's a similar question that was asked in Facebook too, so I'll just mix these two questions together lah. So from Tan, he said that planting fruit trees like mango, banana, guava attract squirrels which eat or damage the fruits before mature. How to prevent that? And from Q Yong's experience, tree shrews and monkeys come into our garden space and eat our bananas and guava after a lot of hard labor. So how to share our space?
Okay, interesting. So I keep talking about squirrels and fruit trees, right? Actually, to be honest, ask yourself, can you finish all the fruit? Can you finish all the fruits that you have grown? I mean, maybe your family has like you have nine family members at home, so maybe you can finish it. But for most of us, we might only have like 3 or 4 people left. So of course I know if you say, oh, I have grown enough, I've grown more, if I can get more from the tree, I can share it with my neighbor, I can share it with my relatives that live 50 kilometers away. So it might be that, but sometimes sharing with all these squirrels is good because it can help to like I said, this workshop is all about getting you to be involved in, how to say, wildlife conservation. So if you're talking about wildlife, use some of it because they don't always take all. But if it's good that you can allocate some of the fruits for the squirrels and the monkeys. So you don't necessarily have to wrap everything. Like I've seen whenever people plant nangka, like the jackfruit, they'll cover with cloth, cover with plastic and everything. But of course, there are some trees like mangoes. You have you when it flowers, right? It produces like a lot of mangoes. You couldn't finish it sometimes. So there are some mangoes that also you couldn't reach because it's on top, it's at the top of the tree. So maybe you couldn't wrap it, maybe you cannot harvest it in time. So these are all the things that you can share with the squirrels. I mean, uh, they won't attack all of your fruit, but they will share with you in some ways. So I guess you can just deal with it. But if you want to have more, of course, you can spend more time to protect wrap your fruit before they ripe, so they don't attack it.
Okay. Next question. Questions here. From Joshua, he asked, is it appropriate to create a biodiversity garden on land that had been sprayed with herbicides or pesticides in previous?
Is it appropriate to create a biodiversity on land that has been sprayed with herbicide? So depends on what kind of herbicide you're talking about. Like they are type 1 to type 5, I think. So this kind of different kind of herbicide have different strength. So some usually when we want to it's possible to create a biodiversity garden because these herbicides or pesticides in general, they will decay or their effect will go away in some time because they won't stay there forever. um, After a while you have to, after you spray a pesticide, the herbs or no, I mean the weeds will grow again, the insects will come again because it loses its effectiveness already. So it's the same for the biodiversity. So when the pesticide loses its um, effectiveness, the space will be available for all of the biodiversity again. Of course, some of the animals will be more sensitive than the others, so they might not be able to come back that fast. But in time, definitely it will come back as long as it's not like radioactive materials. Like maybe you are talking about other like radioactive waste that are dumped in a place. It might take a few hundred years. So that's the different case. But normal herbicides and pesticides, I think if you want to create a very mature biodiversity garden, I think within 1 year it should be okay. Or some of the weaker pesticides, a few weeks or a few months. Yeah, depends on the pesticide we're talking about. Just make a note if you want to spray certain pesticides in a place, so you know when can you start to plant another batch of vegetables or other plants.
Alright. Next is, are butterflies considered as friends of the garden or pets?
Okay. Are butterflies friends or foes? Um, if you enjoy their presence, definitely they are friends. But a lot of the butterflies, of course, they will try to harm your garden, or they'll lay eggs on your plants, and they'll become caterpillars that eats all your plants. Um, if you are if you are going for supporting the life cycle of the butterfly, then I think it is a great thing to do to support them, like letting their caterpillars to grow. I mean, sometimes you can reduce the population by yourself because you don't have a big tree, but you can definitely let the some of the butterflies to become adult, so that their species can survive. Because a lot of the things, a lot of the local or urban species, they are not documented, and we don't know their population situation. So sometimes when we see a butterfly, maybe it might be the last one within the 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers. So it might be the last one, and when you say, oh, decided I don't like this butterfly producing laying eggs and the caterpillars eating my stuff, and you just kill it, and it can become locally extinct from the area. So if you are going for wildlife conservation, I would say, um, if you have butterflies that lay eggs, it is you are lucky, I guess. You are lucky, but definitely it can be annoying. So you might want to, if you don't want to see butterfly laying eggs, you don't want to plant the host plants. So you want to plant the nectar plant that the butterfly goes to, but don't lay eggs on. So in that case, you can support the butterfly population, but you also don't interfere with their reproduction in that sense. So it will be better. So there's no friends or foes in that kind. I mean, it's just on your own judgment.
Right. Next question, from Asia. She asked how to manage a garden that has chickens and rabbits because they eat some of our vegetables.
Don't Okay. Thanks, Asia. So I think the chicken will just mess around with the soil. So as long as you keep them fed properly, then it will be okay. But because rabbit eats a lot of vegetables, so if you have leafy vegetables that are planted around your garden, definitely don't release your rabbit to go and eat them, because they will be naturally attracted to fresh vegetables, fresh food, just like us. So I think you can design maybe a fence, a small fence, to guard your leafy vegetables. But of course, some of the fruit trees might be bigger, so I think it's fine. You don't have to guard everything. But um, whenever you have things that are growing at ground level, or where the rabbit can reach, try to fence it up so that they don't have access to it. So I think there are not much problem over there. Yeah, should be fine.
Alright, so I'm jumping into Facebook. There's two people that their questions are quite similar lah. So from Siping Wong and Azwan Yahya, they asked about how about those living in an apartment or in urban homes. can they actually do this kind of gardening since they had limited space to do it? And is there such thing as half ecosystem within that
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Shu?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, I just noticed
didn't.
that I was stuck just now. Sorry. Okay, I'll repeat again. So we have two questions from Facebook that's quite similar. The question is about how about those living in an apartment? Can they actually do this kind of gardening since there's limited space to do gardening in the apartment balcony? So and how do they support the fauna in the urban apartment balcony?
Okay, so if you have a balcony, right, whether it's a small or big space, you can if you can feed some plants, then you can definitely support, because any amount of plant can help to support the biodiversity, whether it's a little contribution or a big contribution. So it's just whether it is the amount different. So if you have only a space and the time to plant a pot of flower, then maybe if you have a thought of it, like you want to see bees, then you can plant a pot of flowering plants that always produce flowers. So in that case, you can support the local bee population. So there's no restriction whether you are living on apartments in an apartment and you don't have landed properties, you cannot grow big trees. I mean, doesn't it doesn't have to be a big tree, and it can be a small plant or just a vegetable that you eat, or herbs or Thai basil, so things that you eat, and this can help to encourage the at least a space for the some of the insects to hide, or some of the insects to actually rest or get their nutrients, get their nectar from. So this small little interaction is sufficient for all of us. Like if you don't have time for a lot of things, then small things can have bigger effects. I mean, you might not think that it's insignificant, but actually when everyone is doing the same thing, everyone has a pot of plants, 1,000 person have 1,000 plants already. So it will be a bigger effect in the long run. So like I said earlier, try to manage your time. If not, you in the end it becomes a failure, then it might not help the environment at all.
All right. Next question is from Azmir. To hard sell open quote gardening to enrich biodiversity can be quite a challenge, I think. Many would prefer gardening vegetables, which result in getting rid of snails, using fertilizers, etc. So the question is, does this kind of gardening contribute in enriching urban biodiversity?
Let me check. Couldn't quite catch it.
Right? Did you catch that?
Many Many would prefer gardening vegetables, which results in getting rid of snails using fertilizers. Question: does this kind of gardening contribute in enriching urban biodiversity? I think. I couldn't quite understand. Let me think about it. Okay, so you are talking about getting rid of snails and fertilizers. So depends on the kind of fertilizers you use and whether it's just a simple snail problem. So some of the times we definitely have a pest problem like snails, like slugs, like aphids and things like that. So there are times where we need to use insecticides And when we use insecticides, because we kill everything, so we might need to introduce artificial fertilizers. So sometimes it is for the convenience, because let's say I live in an apartment and I don't have space to produce my own compost. I don't have space to I don't have time to manage pluck the singles one aphids after another from my chili plant. Then yes, you can do it, but it depends on how, like I said, it depends on how much time that we can put inside. So no matter what amount of plants that you plant at home, it will always attract animals, and it will always contribute back to the biodiversity of the surrounding area. So no matter it's a single tomato plant, no matter it's a single chili plant, um, whether you put insecticides or not, sometimes after a while, the you will notice the snails will come again, the bugs will come again, right? So um, when it af when the effect is expired, so the biodiversity will come again, and they will try to um, um, take over the place again. So when it comes again, where it will maybe you want to get rid of him. So that's the I would say the thing, your conscious or your choice to actually whether you want to get rid of them. I'm not trying to hard sell like whether biodiversity is interesting or is feasible to the urban population, because a lot of people don't have time, like what you say, you want to use pesticide and things like that. So limit to things that you can easily manage, like some of the flowering plants that are perennials, you plant it, and some of them are hardy. And if you about the fertilizers you talk about, and maybe you can try to do mulching. So when you have mulch, then it can helps to get more natural fertilizer. It's more of a process of producing natural fertilizer. I mean, you don't use the plastic mulch lah. So I've seen people use plastic sheets before. But if you have access to all these wood chips and dried leaves that are readily available in your surrounding area, then you can use this to cover your pot or cover the plants that cover the surrounding area of the plants. So this might help with reducing your need or reliance on the fertilizer. But about pests, I mean, it's just there. Sometimes with snails, you can just physically remove them. So um, I think everyone has different take on different things. So like I personally will remove the snails myself, because I know that the snails, the common snail that we have it at home is the African snail, African land snail, and it's alien species. So it's not good for the population of our local Malaysian snails. So if I see them, I will throw them away, or I will kill them. But of course, it can be a good food for other animals lah. I don't know, but I will kill them. Yeah, it's on your choice.
All right. I think so. I can just take one more question. Do we leave the caterpillars on the citrus tree to get rid of them? Sorry. Do we leave the caterpillars on the citrus tree or get rid of them?
If you want your citrus tree to grow very well, then remove them. You can grow them elsewhere. But if you want to see how much caterpillars can eat, then you leave them on the tree so they can be well fed. Because as long if you I when you ask this question, maybe you are the person that wants to see the butterfly, right? So what I suggest would be you remove them from the tree, so that you know which leaves will they be eating. So you can put them in an enclosure or a plastic box, and then you try to trim and then you take that opportunity to trim your trees, and then you use the trimmed leaves to feed them instead of letting them just go wild on your citrus tree, and then they start biting a little bit of this leaf, a little bit of that leaf, and it destroy the aesthetic look of your citrus leaf. Then it's bad now. So you might not want that to happen. So if you want to keep the caterpillars, remove them. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that's all the time we have today. For those who questions that we've not answered, sorry. We'll try to address it in probably next week. All right. Thank you everyone for staying with us throughout the session. So figuratively, we've created our urban farm and then we filled it up with butterflies. And now we learned the importance of biodiversity in our garden. Next week on 31st July, same time at 8 p.m., we will be with Dr. Noraini from My Bee Savior. Would you want bees in your garden, or are they dangerous or not? We'll be learning ways we can preserve and restore declining bee populations by establishing bee gardens in the city. All right, now we will share the QR code on the screen for feedback. Really appreciate it if you could scan the QR code and give us your thoughts on the series. If you wish to re-watch or watch our previous online workshop series, it is now up on YouTube for streaming. We've also shared the YouTube link on our Facebook page too, so you can go on and watch lah. And this session is also recorded and will be uploaded on YouTube also. So before we end, if you are interested in biodiversity gardening or ways to increase biodiversity in your garden, or have more questions, you can reach out to Kai Ren on his Facebook page, Tan Kai. Sorry, I just realized that I was stuck. All right, I'm back on. So sorry, guys. All right. Yeah, so I'll just repeat a bit lah. Do follow us on our 3 social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's at Urban Biodiversity Initiative at UBI_MY. If you're interested to learn or would like to educate others, do check out our website, ubi-my.com. That's ubi-my.com. In our website, we have plenty of urban wildlife resources for you guys, like guidebooks on urban wildlife, articles, and even write-ups on our online workshops. Again, thank you guys for coming. Thank you so much, Kai Ren, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the UB team.